So, how do I know when the first draft of my book is done? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights about all things self publishing with you. Before I get into the details of today's topic, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way, you can be here every week as I release videos about self publishing, making a career out of being an author, and now being a mompreneur. So today I'm going to answer a question that I had from a client, and I've actually had this from several clients, and that was, how do I know when I'm done my first draft of my book? There's multiple multiple edits, there's multiple revisions, but how do I know when like draft one is done? And there are definitely some authors out there who will spend forever on something and call it their first draft. But eventually, all of us need to say draft one is done, set it aside for a week, and then go back in to start draft two. So I talk a bit about this in How to Write Your First Novel, okay, how do you know when the manuscript is done, getting ready for your first self-edit, getting everything taken care of. So definitely check out the book, but I'll go a little bit into that today as well. So if you are working from an outline, now whether you are a panster, you're writing by the seat of your pants, you're a discovery author, or you're a plotter and you plot it all out, eventually you have an outline. You know what needs to be filled in. And I think there's some people who are more on the panster side who say, no, I never need an outline. Well, eventually you need to figure out like, how is the story flowing? Is there like a huge gap somewhere? Is there a huge plot hole? So eventually you're going to have that kind of a structure. So for me, I say when each chapter or section of your outline is complete, you're going to be going through. Now, you may decide some sections are repetitive or can be combined. You want to make sure that you have everything that you have to possibly say is in the document. I usually also suggest giving the manuscript a week without going into it, and see if in that time, if anything like percolates up in your mind. Do you have a moment where you think, oh man, I should really include this? After a week, go back in and include any of those items. It's getting the time and the mental space to let that percolate up and getting that in there. So for all the pansters out there, you should know in your mind when the story that you wanted to tell is done. Some authors get to the point where they have a 300,000 word manuscript and they're like, I don't feel like it's done. And I see them posting on forums and most people are like, yeah, you need to get the first book of that series out. That's going to be a doorstopper of a book. And maybe they're used to more of this serialized type writing with like Wattpad or other short fiction. And so they just keep going, but it's realizing like, oh, like I need to break this up into readable chunks for the audience, and then that first book, that draft could be done, then this, then this, and this. So it's really setting a goal of the word count, what the defined story is for that book, and then knowing when you have each of those sections or chapters complete. Kind of on the fiction side, right? Like you have to have an idea of when the story for that book is done. On the nonfiction side, I would say that the first draft is done. You're going to go back and look through and make sure any references to other books or articles, data cited within the book, that there's a rough bibliography in the back of the text. Now that could just be you throwing in the links, you writing down the title of the book. You'll go back in and make it the official bibliography later, but I don't consider a first draft complete for a nonfiction book where you are citing data until you have some kind of a bibliography in the back. You need to have a bibliography. Do that. Same thing with nonfiction. I would also make sure that any of the end of chapter resources, prompts are included in this manuscript. If you're planning to end some of those chapters telling people, hey, do this research, hey, take this action step, you need to have that included in the manuscript for that first draft to be complete. Okay, so once you feel like, okay, for fiction, I've done everything, every chapter element of the story is done. For nonfiction, I feel like I have all that I need to say in there. I have a bit rough bibliography. I have all of the action items in there. I definitely recommend going in to read the manuscript through once in its entirety before you're ready for the next step. And again, I go over that in How to Write Your First Novel. I'm working on the corollary for nonfiction, and that's going to be in there too, about understanding when that first draft is done. But giving it time, and you need to go through it completely before you're ready for the next step. And that way you're making sure if there's any duplicate content or areas that are unclear, that you're taking out the duplicates, you're making any revisions you need to, just to have a better, more clear idea there. As I'm fumbling for words on clarity of ideas, making sure your ideas are expressed clearly. So that first self-edit is what comes at that point. Now you also may be catching, any abbreviations or spelling inconsistencies. Did you capitalize a certain term throughout the first 4 chapters and then never again? Do you abbreviate items? You're going to catch that, but really the point of that first self-edit is to say, does this make sense? Is this one whole book? Is it a complete thesis? Is the story complete? Can it stand on its own? Or does it need more? Is there more to come later? And I've planned that that's going to be the next in the series, things like that. So I know there are a lot of authors out there who are stuck on their first draft, but I would definitely say, take the time to really make that outline to figure out, where is this book supposed to end? What are people supposed to walk away with from this book? And then go back through that and really make sure that you have that defined goal, so that we know that. So definitely let me know in the comments, are you stuck on the first draft of your book? How long have you been stuck there? Are you currently in a self-editing cycle that you can't seem to break out of? I know a lot of authors will just keep revising, and a decade has passed and it's like, ooh, maybe that's too much revising. So definitely share below, so that we can encourage each other, we can keep each other moving forward, and we can get you past that point so you can get your book done and out to people. Definitely want to hear from you on that. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. That lets YouTube know that you're getting value from these videos and can get it in front of other authors like us. And now you can get back to writing your book. Hey, if you want to continue to support this channel and my other creative work, please head over to buymeacoffee.com and support my channel. You can buy me 1 coffee, 3, 5, 10, or you can even get a membership. Those who are in the membership are actually going to be included in the acknowledgements pages of all of my published books moving forward as a big thank you. And you can even get some additional options to get an Instagram thank you post shout out or a shout out in an upcoming video. Thank you so much for supporting this channel.